All right, everyone, welcome back to the Land of Chem. I'm your host and the author. My name is Jeffrey Drum. Thank you all so much for joining me again. All right, everyone, welcome back. And in today's episode, I will be presenting a remarkable structure that connects the people, knowledge, and technology of ancient Japan, Ireland, the UK, Europe, and Egypt. If you like the video, please subscribe for more content regarding the technology of ancient civilizations, utilizing physics and chemistry, and the function of the Egyptian pyramids and other ancient structures from across the world. If you want to help support the channel and get access to exclusive research videos, check out the Land of Chem members only channel and thelandofchem.com if you want to pick up a copy of the book or grab some merch, both linked in the video description below. If you want to follow me on Instagram or on X, my handle is @thelandofchem. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you all so much for the support. I think that is it for today's intro, so without further ado, let's get right to it. All right, everyone, here we go with tonight's episode. Now, to begin, the following research will provide a foundation of supporting evidence for a massive global network of unified civilizations that created an integrated system of knowledge and technology that connected the structures and sciences of ancient Egypt, Ireland, the UK and Europe, and Japan, with the lineage of this ancient technological system that utilized the forces of physics and chemistry dating back to the end of the last ice age, more than 10,000 years ago. So as I explained in episode 146, and presented up close in person during Sunday Site Visit 91. The ancient Neolithic people across these three civilizations were constructing megalithic standing stone, menhir, and obelisk lightning rod technology for a variety of applications, including as a power source for the passage chamber chemical reactors that were also found across this global technology system, like the Ishibutai reactor in Nara, Japan, shown in Sunday Site Visit 83. And the West Kennet Long Barrow, connected into the Avebury Serpent Temple landscape lightning physics and chemistry technology system of Wiltshire, England, that we visited in Sunday Site Visit 37, whose function involved electric fields and ultrasound crystallization for the production of ferrous sulphate, as explained in episode 119, a similar function to its cousin structure, Newgrange, in County Meath, Ireland, with these passage chamber chemical reactors being directly related to the chemical reaction chambers that would be incorporated into the pyramid structures that were also being constructed across this global network, like Silbury Hill at the Avebury Serpent Temple complex and the Coromanta Pyramid, Stone Circle, and Chemical Reactor Dragon Temple complex from Sunday Site Visit 78, whose function was just explained in the previous episode 147. And of course, we have the chemical reaction chambers of the Egyptian pyramids. And during the past 148 episodes, and now 92 Sunday Site Visits, I have covered all of this, revealing my hypothesis on the function of these mysterious ancient structures as related to lightning-based physics, industrial chemistry, and agricultural terraforming applications as presented in episode 135, with all of this technology tracing back to the stone circles of the post-Ice Age Neolithic civilizations. But thus far, stone circles have been missing from one of these three places on Earth. We have stone circles all over Japan, and stone circles all over Ireland, the UK, and Europe. But you may be saying to yourself, there are no stone circles in Egypt. Well, allow me to introduce you to a post-Ice Age Neolithic era stone circle in Egypt known as Nabta Playa. Possibly, according to the dating proposed by conventional archaeologists, the oldest stone circle on the planet. And I'll give you a bit of background information from this article here. Nabta Playa, the world's first astronomical site, was built in Africa and is older than Stonehenge. And I'll quote here, "For thousands of years, ancient societies all around the world erected massive stone circles, aligning them with the sun and the stars to mark the seasons. These early calendars foretold the coming of spring, summer, fall, and winter, helping civilizations track when to plant and harvest crops. They also served as ceremonial sites for both celebration and sacrifice." And here it states that the stone circle of Nabta Playa marks the summer solstice, a time that coincided with the arrival of monsoon rains in the Saharan desert thousands of years ago. And just as I've been saying, Egypt and the Sahara was a much different environment after the end of the last ice age than it was during the dynastic Egyptian era. Furthermore, Europe alone holds some 35,000 megaliths, but even these primitive sites are at least centuries younger than the world's oldest known stone circle, Nabta Playa, that was built more than 7,000 years ago, making Nabta Playa the oldest stone circle in the world, constructed by a so-called cattle-worshipping cult of nomadic people to mark the summer solstice and the arrival of the monsoons. And I find this so-called cattle-worshipping civilization an interesting correlation to the cattle-related deities and symbols like the Apis bull and the scarab that I have proposed are connected esoterically to ancient methane gas production. Now, the geography of Nabta Playa is an immense drainage basin, miles of flat, sandy landscape. However, the site itself is not on flat ground, but rather atop a large sand dune beside a dry lake bed. This will be relevant again in just a moment. Next, the archaeological team discovered that the stone circle once aligned to Arcturus, Sirius, and Alpha Centauri. There were also stones that seemed to correspond to the constellation Orion, and it would have matched up with Nabta Playa's stone circle around 4800 BCE. However, in my opinion, these dates and alignments are completely arbitrary, as you can set the date to any time frame and the stones will point to one constellation or another in the sky. And the Nabta Playa site may be far older than 5000 BCE, as you can see here. And I will quote from this article, "The Ancient Astronomy of the Nabta Playa Egyptian Stone Circle," that astrophysicist Thomas Brophy has been at the forefront of researching the astronomy of Nabta Playa. Of the 6 mysterious standing stones in the center of the stone circle, it is now thought that they are part of an ancient star map. Each stone seems to represent a star in the sky. Studies reveal that the stone circle acts as a map for accurate angles and distances to relative stars. Most curiously, Nabta Playa shows knowledge of the precession of the equinox. It's the much larger cycle of the star constellations in the sky comparative to the sunrise on the spring solstice. Just before the sun rose on the summer solstice around 5000 BC, 3 of the stones in the center of the stone circle would have lined up perfectly with the belt stars of the constellation of Orion. This time marks when the precession cycle is at one extreme. 12,000 years earlier, the opposite extreme of the precession cycle occurs. Again, the other 3 stones line up precisely with the shoulder stars of Orion. The stone circle is an accurate astronomical map tracking time back to around 16,500 BCE. And I'm not going to go into depth about the archaeoastronomy encoded into this structure, as it has been covered extensively by friends of the channel, Matt Simpson from Ancient Architects and Hugh Newman from Megalithomania. And I'll put links to both of these videos in the description below, and shout out to both Matt and Hugh for your support and encouragement of my work. Now, more about this quote-unquote cattle cult. More than 10,000 years ago, northern Africa shifted away from a cold, dry Ice Age climate that had persisted for tens of thousands of years. With the shift, African monsoons migrated north relatively quickly, filling up seasonal lakes, or playa, that provided short-lived oases for life. These summer rains were likely sacred. During this era before agriculture had spread across the globe, these nomads survived primarily off of wild resources. But somewhere around the same time in the same region, people began domesticating goats as well as an ancient type of cattle. And here are some images and a LiDAR scan of the so-called cow statue that was discovered at the site. A bit of a stretch, in my opinion, to call this a cow, but that's what they say it is. And at the dawn of domesticated agriculture, I will quote here, practically speaking, the megaliths would have also helped the people of Nabta Playa time the rainy season, which only became more important as the society developed for thousands of years. The summer solstice would have coincided with the arrival of the annual monsoons, so tracking the sun's location could have tipped them off to the coming wet season. Evidence for the people at Nabta Playa appears around the year 9000 BCE, and at the time, the Sahara was much wetter. But between 5000 and 3000 BCE, thousands of years after the stone circle was built at Nabta Playa, the region dried out again. Researchers think that this environmental stress could have forced the people of Nabta Playa to develop a complex society. Complex enough to organize the construction of structures like this, with the stone slabs at the site, which have been shown to be quartzite sandstone, some of which stand 9 feet tall. This complex culture seems to have fallen somewhere in between nomadic and agrarian. Nabta Playa is also home to the oldest known remains of sorghum, a crop first domesticated in Africa. Hundreds of sorghum seeds were found at Nabta Playa. Millet, another crop critical to the global agricultural history, was also domesticated in the region, and excavations have also turned up storage pits for grass, seeds, tubers, legumes, and fruits. These nomadic people likely ate wild foods, but also planted some semi-domesticated crops along the lake shores at the beginning of each wet season. Then they moved on after the harvest. All of this sounding very much like what we see in the Neolithic hunter-gatherer and domesticated agricultural activities of the ancient Japanese Jomon civilization, who were also building these exact same types of stone circles to bring lightning, rain, and atmospheric fertilizer to their hunting, gathering, and farming lands. Now, to wrap up with the archaeology, here are some cool pics from the excavations showing the removal of this so-called cow statue, and an image here of a bizarre bedrock sculpture found below the stone circle that has been interpreted as being a map of the Milky Way galaxy. And I think there is a lot more to this structure and the Nabta Playa complex site and to the people who built it than is credited by conventional archaeology and history. So now, ladies and gentlemen, on to the function of Nabta Playa stone circle. In addition to these celestial constellation alignments, Nabta Playa is also calibrated to calculate both solar and lunar phenomenon as stated here. The site was used to mark the summer and winter solstices. Alongside solar alignments, Nabta Playa also appears to have been a site for lunar observations. Certain structures align with key lunar events, such as lunar standstills, which could have guided the people in predicting tides and other lunar phenomena. So you may be asking yourself, why the hell would they want to predict the tides out in the middle of the desert? Remember from episode 115, the function of Stonehenge, that the archaeoastronomy encoded into the structure actually has a direct connection to lightning. Presented in this research paper here, telluric and earth currents, lightning strike locations, and natural resource exploration, that states here. This conclusion is supported by the fact that there are up to 25% more lightning strikes at high lunar tide when compared to the number of lightning strikes at low lunar tide. As the moon goes around the earth, its gravity not only raises the ocean, it also raises the ground. This earth tide is much smaller than the ocean tides. However, it appears to have a significant impact on earth telluric currents. The sun causes about a third as much of an earth tide as the moon does. So earth tides need to be calculated using both the position of the moon and the sun. And in this paper here, the moon effect on lightning, stating that studies found an increase in the thunderstorm activity 2 days after the full moon, and attributed it to the lunar modulation of the Earth's magnetic field in the geomagnetic tail and or an unknown effect on the lower atmosphere caused by the aligning of the sun, earth, and moon. They also found an increase in the lightning activity in the new phase of the moon, not observed in the thunderstorm data and less pronounced than the decreased quarter. The lack of a symmetrical result with respect to the moon suggests that the effect is probably not due to gravitational tides and may be more related to moon interaction with the Earth's magnetic field or other unknown effects. And the summer solstice, solar and lunar alignments that bring rain, lightning, and fertilizer for the ancient agricultural season in Egypt are also mirrored in the Pyramid of Chichen Itza in Mexico during the spring equinox, when the feathered serpent Kukulkan, this symbolic lightning deity, descends upon the Pyramid of Chichen Itza, marking the beginning of the rain season, when this dragon god descends from the sky to the earth, bringing with him the energy of the sun and the gift of water for planting. It is as though the feathered snake is an umbilical cord that provides nourishment to the land. Its vibration energizes the earth, preparing it for new growth. And according to the original source work from Wendorf and Schild, Nabta Playa was an ancient ritual site where ceremonies seeking rain were being performed. And amongst most of the groups, the rainmakers are the most common religious figures. These rainmakers derive their power from the ancestral spirits and may have either been the embodiment of their high god or more frequently serve as an intermediary with that god to bring rain so the grass will grow and their cattle will flourish. And as explained in episode 116 and in episode 142, these stone circles are all connected to lightning, rain, and fertilizer from atmospheric nitrates to bring these forces to specific agricultural areas. An ancient ritual to control the forces of nature and bring nourishment to the areas that were being utilized by this ancient civilization for hunting, gathering, and domesticated farming activities. And remember that during this time period, Egypt wasn't a desert, but rather during the Saharan humid period when the desert was significantly wetter than today, lightning activity would have been much more prevalent due to the increased atmospheric moisture, allowing for the formation of thunderstorms and consequently more lightning strikes compared to the arid conditions that are present in the Saharan desert, essentially a green Sahara with a higher potential for lightning storms. And this monsoon activity, the northward shift of the monsoon during this time would have brought heavy rainfall to the Sahara, further enhancing the conditions for thunderstorms and lightning. And I was hoping to find some interesting details on Google Earth about the surrounding terrain at the Nabta Playa site, but it is indeed in the middle of a completely flat desert basin. Absolutely nothing out here. However, in the original archaeological reports, they clearly show that the Nabta Playa stone circle, as mentioned before, was not on the flat ground, but rather at the top of a hill, changing its electric potential in the accumulation of positive charges, making it the highest point in the area and the only target for a negatively charged cloud-to-ground lightning discharge that would have delivered atmospheric nitrate fertilizers along with the rain to the exact area that they had intended. This sacred, ancient ritual of controlling the weather and terraforming the environment through their knowledge of physics and chemistry. All right, and just a quick reminder that if you want to get to know me and my beautiful wife Alexa a bit better, I highly recommend subscribing to Let's Go with Lex and G so you can join us on our adventures across the world with fantastic content like food reviews from our 2023 research expedition to England and Ireland, pizza reviews like this episode that was filmed right after I finished recording the epic Danny Jones podcast appearance. You don't want to miss this one. It was amazing. A full tour of the new Grand Egyptian Museum, nightlife along the Nile River in Egypt, and all of our most recent content from Japan, including Tokyo Adventures, gyoza in Harajuku, the spectacular Kombini Sando battle, and a whole lot more, including ancient temples and other structures not specifically related to physics and chemistry technology. So come join us on Let's Go with Lex and G. I'll put a link in the video description below, and I hope to see you all there. All right, everyone, that is it for today's video. This was episode 148, The Function of Nabta Playa. I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and in this week's Sunday site visit, I will take you on a wild adventure to investigate the Neolithic stone technology of Kobe, Osaka, and Nara, Japan. This is an episode you do not want to miss, so if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube. Don't forget to click that little notification bell so that you don't miss out on the new episodes that premiere twice per week. If you want to get access to exclusive research content, check out the Land of Chem members only channel and thelandofchem.com, both linked in the video description below. If you want to follow me on Instagram or on X, my handle is @thelandofchem. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you all so much for the support. I think that is it for today's episode, so I will see you next time. Yo, are you still watching this? Please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube and click that little notification button. New videos coming out every single week. And check out this other episode. Come on, do it. Do it now.